Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Nigel Bajos and welcome to the second and final part of my Canon 80D review. If you haven't seen part one, that was all about audio. I'll put a card right up there. But instead of dragging this out to 3 or 4 parts, I'm just gonna give you my final thoughts on this camera in this video. Mainly, other than audio, the main things that I was always curious about this camera is how it actually handled, how sharp the video was, the ISO performance, the dynamic range, and then the time-lapse feature. So I'm just gonna go through all those really quickly. As far as handling, this does feel a lot better to hold. It's a lot more of a, it's a bigger camera than my GH3 was, and it's actually really fun to use. It feels a lot better in my hands. I don't have the hugest hands, but they're relatively large when you're holding something like a G6 or a GH3. So this camera was a pleasant upgrade from that. Felt a lot better, and as far as like the external controls, everything worked exactly how I want it to work. I like that you can change the ISO while you're filming, you can change the audio levels while you're filming, you can change the headphone level while you're filming. All that stuff is really crucial in my opinion to being like a run and gun one-man band. So all of those things I love about it. It's not too heavy. The battery life is great. I have just 2 batteries and those have been doing perfectly fine for me ever since I got this. So yeah, as far as the handling, it's great. Image quality, the image quality is not as good as my G6 and my GH3, or even the A6000 for that matter. It is somewhat softer. It's only really noticeable in some instances, and honestly, you could mix 80D footage in with GH3 footage and it wouldn't be like, so noticeable that it's like distracting. But yeah, it's definitely not as sharp as a GH3 or G6 or A6000 or Blackmagic Pocket, obviously. So that is kind of a bummer, and that's one thing that I was always used to with my GH3 and G6 is having really nice, sharp video. But I think that the party trick of this camera is the dual pixel autofocus, which I've been really enjoying. Again, I'm still just using the 24mm f2.8 and the 50mm f1.8. So those have been 2 really good lenses, and I know that the image quality would actually improve if I got some better lenses. I intend on getting the Sigma 18-35 at some point here in the near future, but as far as image quality, it's not the best, but it's definitely usable for YouTube. So dynamic range. Dynamic range is actually really good. I've been using CineStyle and Andrew Reed's C-Log, and with C-Log, it actually looks pretty good. I really like using C-Log, and it grades really nicely. It's definitely easier to grade than like a Blackmagic Pocket for sure. It kind of feels like I'm using actual C-Log. I've shot on the C100 before and it kind of looks the same, but I'm sure that there is some, subtle nuances that you can kind of tell that it's not, actual C-Log. But yeah, I really like that you can install different picture profiles on this camera. I feel like when I was watching reviews about the 80D, a lot of people were, complaining that it didn't have any flat picture profile, but with Canon cameras, you can install new ones. So that's something that I really like. So for ISO performance, I think that it actually performs really well. I mean, I shot some fireworks during the 4th of July and I shot at ISO 1250 and there was little to no noise to be noticed, like just with the naked eye. If you really were gonna pixel peep, then you could probably notice some, but honestly, I think that it handles high ISO pretty well. Obviously it's going to because it has a bigger sensor. That's just something that I'm not really used to with a G6 or a GH3. They have smaller sensors and they're not the best with high ISOs. So having, pretty good ISO performance is definitely a welcome change for me. So yeah, ISO performance is really good. You're not gonna go past 1250, I think. I think 1250 is like the highest that I would go, but it's definitely usable at 1250, which I'm really stoked about since I use, pretty fast lenses anyways. So, and the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the time-lapse feature, which if you watch any of my older videos, you'll know that I really like doing time lapses, and with this camera, it's really easy to do. Like I said, you just hear the mirror go up once and then it just shoots the time lapse and it's completely silent. And so you just, you pick your interval and you set it up and boom, you can shoot a time lapse. And the time lapses are really crisp and detailed, and I just really like that, and it's really fun doing them. It's kind of like reignited my love for time lapses for sure. So all in all, am I gonna keep this camera? I think I will. It's definitely a little bit of a step back as far as image quality from where I was with my Panasonic cameras, but the dual pixel autofocus and the upgraded audio preamps and the ability to install picture profiles like CineStyle and C-Log is a very welcome change for me. And coupled with the fact that this is also a really good photography camera, it's kind of like reignited my love for photography as well. And it has Wi-Fi, so I can control it with Wi-Fi when I'm doing video, and I can, you know, send photos from this camera straight to my phone and post them on Instagram and whatnot. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this camera until I'm ready to buy something a little bit higher end, like maybe a C100 Mark II or a C200. But yeah, I really like being in the Canon system again. So many of my photographer friends here in Portland shoot Canon anyways, so if I ever needed to borrow a lens, I'll be able to just, you know, slap that right onto my camera. And yeah, I think this camera is actually a pretty good option. I definitely wouldn't recommend it now. I mean, the SL2 and the M50 have come out, and so those are kind of like, you know, like more inexpensive options. But if you need the features that I've always felt that I needed, like a headphone jack and, you know, good autofocus and just a bigger body and weather sealing, this Canon 80D does the trick. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this very quick wrap up of my Canon 80D review. If there are things about this camera that I didn't cover in this review, it's probably because they've been covered in a different review, and there are a bunch of Canon 80D reviews out there. So if I didn't cover something, you can always just go check out somebody else's review. Ortega does a really good one. You know, Frenchel and Jansich do a pretty good review of this camera. So if you want more information about this camera, you can just go check out their reviews. I'll have those linked in the description below. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If this video was helpful at all, it would be great if you hit the like button, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content, and you can even click that bell if you want to be notified for when I upload more videos. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, I will see you later. Bye.